So we're recording, and the idea is that we'll have a 3-minute limit. So if everybody read 3 cards and talked a little bit about some of the interesting things about their process, that would be great. I'm going to have a little timekeeper here, I guess, and there we go. And I think what I'm going to do is, I talked about having a sign up in the chat, but I can just see you here, and hopefully you have your right name in your box, so I know how to call your name instead of calling you Cake Slar, for instance. I wouldn't want to call you Cake Slar.
That's Carol.
Oh, Carol. Okay. Okay. So if Carol, if you could make Carol instead of Cake Slar.
See if I can do that. Right.
There we. Yeah, those 3 dots. In fact, I could do it for you actually.
I got it.
Oh, you got it. Okay. So so that's what we have it, and we have at least one person who says they have to leave early because of a long-standing dinner date. That's Philip. So you know what? I think the format would be, I introduce you and you tell us where you're from, a little bit about your process, and then read 2 or 3 postcard poems, and we'll move on to the next. Does that sound like a good plan?
Sure.
I just wanted to say that this POPO year has been absolutely incredible. Thank you for dealing with the extra long year. I know that there was a little bit of flack at the beginning from some people, but it worked out very well. I got tons of cards and get well cards, and I'm really kind of overwhelmed. And if I think about it too much, I'm going to just crumple up into a ball and start weeping because it's been really touching and beautiful. And the fest does seem to get better every year. So thank you all for your contributions to the Postcard Fest. And Philip, you're on.
Thank you. I'm from Amarillo, Texas. I've been writing poetry since I was 34, at least, that I can prove. I think actually longer than that, because when I was in college, I made up a pseudonym, Arnold Jameson, an Irish drunk Jewish poet. But I can't find any of his poems. At any rate, this is the first time I've done postcard poetry, and I found it challenging and a lot of hard work, and I don't think I wrote any good poems, but I'm going to read the last 3 because they're the ones that sort of got decent. Here's 29 out of 31. How little we know in the summer before snow covers our gardens. Figs on the trees ripen in late September, sweet as our lover. No lights in winter. We stoke the fireplace with wood we bought from pity. We keep thinking spring full of flowers and freshness before summer heat. And then here's 30 out of 31. I woke up this morning thinking of Paris, wishing I could go there, be there, eat there. The first time I saw Paris was in 1956 when I was a mere novice lad intoxicated by light, reading Hemingway, dreaming of Africa, Spain, and of course Paris. I knew when paradise was before I had been there. When I became old and retired, I took my wife to live there for 3 months. She said it was a second honeymoon. Paradise in Paris, our place of love.
Cool.
And this is the last one, called It Last.
Okay.
After months of struggle, we settled on staying put. Too hard to move, too old to change. If we had been Hmong, the young would have carried us, but we live in this country, lied to, threatened, bullied. There is no safety, no Eden, no place to go except away.
Beautiful, Philip. Thank you. Intoxicated by light indeed. Fantastic. Thanks for being part of POPO.
It was fun to do. Really rewarding. I had a great time.
Wonderful. All right, we go from Texas to Maine. Sigrid.
I need you to pass on me till I find them. I lost them.
All right. We'll go from Maine to Christine Kendall. I want to say that you're in Winthrop.
Thank you. Nope, I'm just next door to Winthrop in Twisp, Washington, and I'm in central Washington, and we also have fires very close by, so we're part of the generation of smoke. And we just hope it doesn't turn to fire closer to us, because we've already been through that once in 2014 and 2015. So this year, I've done POPO every year, and it's been wonderful. It's always very generative. This year, I used, for most of my poems, the titles of Pulitzer Prize winner books as the prompt for my poem. So my first one is from The Optimist's Daughter, Eudora Welty, 1973. My mother. It was in Dunshaughlan the great aunt said of her, Nora never cared which way the wind blew. So where did that carefree woman go? She was not my mother who stockpiled worries and always had one close at hand. What is it like for those raised by a mother who looks ahead to what might be instead of back to what could have been? I was not an optimist's daughter, but I was hers. And at her last, she had no worries except for me. She said, this will be hard for you. And she was right. I'll always be her daughter, no matter my age, a tremble of anxiety, sometimes coursing through my veins. This one is Now in November from the Pulitzer Prize winner by Josephine Winslow Homer, 1935. Now in November, how will we gather for Thanksgiving dinner with family and friends, with COVID-19 taking up too much space at the table, when no one wants to pass the plates or the virus, and we dare not bring Aunt Alma from assisted living? How do we Zoom the feast? And yet, if we are healthy, that alone should make us grateful, and counting blessings is better than glass half empty regrets. This one is from the Stone Diaries, Carol Shields, 1995. Some of us are stone people. We put small rocks in our pockets walking a Northwest Washington beach. We admire, even covet some boulders. We know a stone might one day be inscribed with our name. And maybe it is that, how stones last. Even as lichen or moss tries to diminish them, somehow we commune with what earth has made of itself and the longevity it will have, even if it becomes sand. We are transients, the dust to dust ashes of us, but stones, what stories they could tell, what sights to witness if they had eyes. But maybe their magic is they need only to be. And I timed it out. I do have one more within 3, I hope. Twisp. This town doesn't tell much about itself. Driving through it, you wouldn't see a McDonald's, Walmart, or a Target. And maybe that should tell you something. You would not need to stop for a red light. There are none. You could drive straight through on Highway 20 at 25 miles an hour. And yes, there is a Napa, a bank, a supermarket, even a Les Schwab's, but you'd never get the sense of community that's here. How some nights people must choose which event to attend. This town and land around it is filled with artists, ranchers, and people who believe in conservation. Maybe for a taste of what we have here, go to the bakery on Glover Street. The Cinnamon Twisp is the place. That's where I found an appetite and desire for more, listening to the locals interact, seeing their heartfelt connections. That's from the town, Conrad Richter, 1951. Thank you.
And the bookstore, what's the name of the bookstore in Twisp?
Oh, it's in Winthrop actually, and it's Trails End, and it's a wonderful bookstore, and it has lots of Paul's books. So if you want to buy some of Paul's books, come to Winthrop. She's got some.
They've been there for 2 years or so. Thanks, Christine.
No. It was only a couple of years, 2017 or 2018, Paul.
It goes by fast. Someone, Philip said she must have used a very
Yes,
large
it
postcard. And how do we zoom?
I use light. I actually print mine in tiny print. They
Uh-huh.
strain everybody's eyes.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much.
How do we zoom the feast? Fantastic.
Why I have this.
Oh, there you go. Thanks, Christina. Thanks for being a long time, being one of the few who's done it every year. Thanks so much. Jessica.
it's been great.
Jessica.
Hi, I'm on the East Coast. I'm calling from Connecticut. And this is my second POPO Fest. I had a great time last year. And I wasn't quite sure in the beginning how to feel about the early start this year. But with hindsight, I'm just so grateful because I was feeling relatively stretched in the beginning of the pandemic with little kids at home, grocery shopping a nightmare, and I just didn't want an extra thing to pile onto my to-do list. But it just really gave me the space to sit down and write it all down. So I'm sharing three, and the first one is, and it's in chronological order. The first one is in unexpected times. You didn't know how much it meant to sit on the sofa together this afternoon when you held up your book, begging me to read. My mind was elsewhere, trying to glue together the world, making a meal plan for however long it takes, while all you wanted was to wash the glitter off your hands and sit under my blanket. So that was number one. Number two is when we emerge. When we emerge, will we be nicer, enlightened, more caring, even compassionate? Or will we spit out the water we swallowed, take a few shallow breaths, and go back to battling windmills? And the third one is time. The day the quarantine started, the digital clock in our bathroom decided to start flashing and begging for new batteries. And I let it mirror my heartbeat for the next few days until one morning it was dead. Now, 3 months later, it is still a black screen, empty, drained, hoping for relief from somewhere.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Thanks,
Thank you.
Jessica.
Thank you.
Nicely done. Okay, let's see. Cathabella Wilson, do you have?
I do. I have the last three for this year. And I want to tell you that what I do continues from the year before. And these images, which I'm not sure if you can see. Can you see a little bit?
Put them a little bit.
Shadows.
We see them a little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So here's an interesting one. They're images that I took when I was walking on the beach 20 years ago. So I have a collection of thousands of these. And I call them figures of humor and strange beauty. But these are all new poems. And they're all charita, which are 6 lines. And the meaning of that is little story. So each one of my pieces are a little story in itself, and it continues a larger story as our lives do. So these are the last 3 following, Rich did that at the beginning, and the last 3, the first one with that colorful one, Lost Carousel. A lost carousel, sea glass eye, amber lips, the spiral, white coil in the center that makes life spin. Number 30, a story on the tip of her tongue, shaped like a book, quiet with secrets before she could speak. Born. This is the last one. Born from a tangle of shadows. This small one that follows me along the shore. That's it. And this, I don't know if I can show you this. I'm sorry, they're shiny. This one looks like a figure walking along the shore. It was just a stick, a driftwood stick. And it kind of looks like a duck, but its shadow is tiny. See how tiny? And how big it is. So.
And what beach is it? What beach are you walking along there?
That was in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the bottom of Mesa Lane where I lived. And every day I took a walk down Mesa Lane, down the steps, and then I'd walk on the beach for about 20 minutes. And these creatures would appear. And I published a book. I was lucky to have this book published. It's called Figures of Humor and Strange Beauty.
Mm.
But that one is all free verse, and they weren't about the images. They weren't about what I was doing. It was just the whole concept that accompanied what I was doing. But what I'm doing for the postcard project, what I did last year, and these are all new poems this year, is to take the individual image which sparked me to take that picture and give it its poem, to say why, what it meant to me when I took the picture without knowing it.
Excellent. Thanks. Thanks for that. Beautiful.
Thanks.
Sigrid, we have you next.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
would.
Oh my God. You know I'm illiterate here with the four-letter words. Okay. My process is to try to find something of Maine or of my paintings or where I've been that would spark a memory. And for the coming, I have my first list for 2017, but I didn't start keeping a record until last year. I have no idea what I did with those. I just found my list of people to mail to. The first one was about, I had done a leaf press. I'd taken a leaf, put paint on it, and just put it on the postcard. First leaf.
We lost her.
Hmm.
Hear
Okay.
me? Hold on.
I think that you need to move your face closer to the microphone because you seem to be too
There
far.
we go.
Better.
That's
Okay.
better.
That better?
Yep.
Okay. This one, first leaves are turning. Bright red maples. Just a second. It's on 100%. First leaves are turning. Bright red maples. Oak leaves in earth tones. It can be said, just a second, to be bittersweet. And I got one more line to it. I'm sorry. Can you tell that I just don't know what I'm doing? Oh, I've lost my stuff. I'm sorry.
Sigrid, we'll come back to you.
Well, I hit something and I don't know what I did. I'm sorry.
It might be good to print them out. Let me go to Carol. Carol Kessler. Carol, are you there? Are you
I'm
ready?
here.
Would
I'm
you like
here.
Can you tell us again where you're from?
Yeah, I'm in Oakland, California, where, by the way, our air is much worse than what you guys previously discussed, but we're coping with it. This is 2020 is my 7th year, and it's kind of difficult for me to talk about process because I don't think I have a process. It usually starts with, oh, I need to write a poem today. And then I have a thought, maybe if I'm lucky, and or else I get in the shower and then I have a thought. And then I write the poem, and then I find a photograph that I've already taken that sort of fits with it, or I have, when on my more deliberate years, I create a collage to go with it. But I still haven't really done the thing where the poem and the picture are truly coordinated. And I think that next year I'd like to make that a goal. Let's see if I can do it. You know, if not, then we'll just go on being sort of haphazard with the best I can offer, right? So that's my process. Let's see. So number 3 this year came from memory. and it's called That Waitress at the Diner. Her name was Joanne, and she looked just like the other workers at the diner. She just got out of prison for murder, they said. What a nice guy that Bob is to hire her back. Well, I heard he was her lover. She showed me how to use the fryer, said another. Her name was Joanne. She murdered her husband, and she looked just like a waitress. Oh, okay. So just to make it 3 pandemic lessons, there's time now to look at the willow. Its branches hanging down. It isn't weeping, but reaching down to have a conversation with the roots underground. And then the last one is here somewhere. It's coming. This is called Invisible. As soon as I find it, there it is. Okay. I am the 99%, too small a one of many to be discerned from so many others. I am overlooked, undereducated, native, black, brown, red, yellow, and white, poor, and female, none of which amounts to much in the flash and dash world. I am without street or social cred, have no economic sway. My financial legacy will not support a flea for a week. I am unremarkable. There will be no memorial plaque for me, but a child I've taught to care, a kindness here and there, as there will be for others like me, the tip workers, the bus drivers, grocery clerks, immigrants, postal workers, under and over educated people who keep the country running, who will have no statues in their names, maybe not even a headstone, but share love, laughter, sorrow, humanity, and passion as they struggle to breathe from the bottom of the pile. We are America, the jazz and blues and hillbilly tunes that speak of our dreams and persistence, the rap and hip hop of hope and resistance. We are.
Beautiful, Carol. Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
salute the bus drivers on the 7 when I see them go by.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, always.
Thanks, Carol.
You're welcome.
That was a big card too, wasn't it?
Oh, that was, sorry, what?
A very big card you were writing on, I'm thinking.
Well, no, it was a normal sized card, but it was printed out on paper and folded,
I see.
you know.
Thanks, Carol. Penelope, are you ready to give us 3 minutes of your best?
Sure. I don't know if it'll be the best, but I have 3 minutes.
Are you in Portland?
No, I'm in Culver City, California, down in Los Angeles area.
Okay.
So this was my 3rd poetry festival, but in a way I feel like it was my 3rd and my 4th, because it started so early and went on so long, and I was part of 2 groups, and I wrote a lot of bonus cards also. So the first half, the 3rd POPO for me, was much like the first 2, and it was just sort of one damn thing after another, just finding cards, looking at the images for a while, and then writing something on the back. And then the second half of it, which was POPO number 4 for me, was a serial poem, which I'd never tried before. Got the idea out of some of the workshops that happened online. And so I would write one poem, which was based on the image on the card. And then the next day I would start with the last line of that poem as the beginning of the next poem and just continue like that. And I found that really interesting, but I'm just gonna read a few of the one damn thing after another poems from the first half. Snail Heaven. I just want to move slowly through the day and maybe night when they turn the sprinklers on. I yearn for clouds to manifest in summer's cerulean, unfortunately clear sky. Heaven is a patch of grass nobody dares to walk across because the dogs got there first. I'd like my days to mirror each other into infinitude. Too much to ask, to ooze smoothly along a path I make up as I go. Etiquette. Nobody gets on the table was the rule. And then, after years of disobedience in pursuit of sunshine baths, the rule became no one on the table when there's food on it. And then it changed to no one on this end when I am eating. And now it's just, please keep your face out of my plate. And then the last one is called Oval. And it's actually based on this little thing which I've kept on my desk for many years. It's just a little oval picture holder and it's empty. And when I'm stuck for words, I just think I only have to fill that oval. That's all I have to write. So this is called Oval. Go down the corridor blindly, lights off, door closed tight behind you, wooden shuttered windows of the room ahead, leaking only a little street lamp glow. Breathe. This is what you came for, to fill the small oval picture frame that sat upon your desk for 20 years, inviting you to enter step by tiny step.
Bravo. I love the notion of a path I make up as I go. That describes my process. If one were to be interested in seriality, the introduction to The Holy Forest by Robin Blazer is highly recommended. He calls the serial poem a narrative of the spirit, and really well done. That's one of the best articulations of the serial poem I've ever seen. Thanks for your inspired participation, Penelope.
Thank you.
Abaya in Smoky Portland, if you could unmute and give us some poems. It'd be nice if you showed them too. I love your artwork.
Well,
Oh, maybe not.
they're all in a book. Kind of hard to hold the book up.
All right.
Um,
Smokey there?
I was in 2 groups this year too, so it sort of, I barely just finished group 16. I'm not much of a reader, but let's see here. Here's one. Their escape velocity never achieved. A small constellation of cobweb bug bodies orbits erratically in the corner. Spurred on by the tepid rush from an electric fan, they wobble, adrift in space on invisible currents of air. Apogee and perigee wearily repeated until the day feels its own weight and buckles. Here's a short one. Rain today, dispelling all guilt over not watering the garden. Not much, enough to elate the weeds and piss off the potatoes. These are not the best, I'm afraid. I'm just sort of grabbing at the straws.
Everybody likes pissed off potatoes.
Okay, here's another one. That way you hold your coffee cup from the side with your thumb hooked through the handle. Piles of books stacked just so, but always on the floor. The slow saunter down to fetch the mail, unopened pieces tossed recklessly aside. Raised like a hothouse flower, but truly a wildflower, never allowed to fully bloom. Okay, that's all for me.
Thanks, Abaya. Breathe well if you can. They
I can't.
say better here
It's
on.
off.
I know it's awful. My partner's sister lives in Southeast Portland, and if she evacuates, she has to bring 3 goats and several chickens with her, and that makes it a lot more difficult.
Yeah, there would be a flock of chickens coming with me too.
Take care of yourself. I
Okay.
I love so much getting your cards. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I enjoy this immensely.
Rich, in Corona, we won't blame the virus on your town. Rich, you have to unmute yourself for us to hear you.
Got it. This took me a while.
That's all right.
The last Zoom meeting I was in only had 4 people, so it's a lot quicker to move around. Yeah, beautiful Corona here. It's really not too bad. And yeah, it's virus, beer, whatever you want to call it. But, well, let's see. Postcard Poetry Fest. I've been doing it about 7 years now, I think. I've saved every postcard I've gotten because I'm a terrific pack rat. Just ask my wife. And every year I try to do something a little bit different. One year I did nothing but packaging, like a Hot Wheel package. It's amazing what you can do with a Hot Wheel package. And this year I've tried to just stick to quatrains or limericks, which of course is my favorite mode of expression. But it's, what I'm trying to say, the poetry is very much tied to the image. So I'm a little unprepared and I don't have any images to share for the poetry to make any sense. But any of you unfortunate enough to receive my work know kind of what I do with the dinosaurs. So I'll just keep it to that. I really don't have anything to read.
Why the dinosaurs, Rich?
It started out, it's amazing how things start out as I don't know, they just kind of take a life of their own. I got a dinosaur. I was going to a dinosaur museum. I think it was in Utah or Colorado. And I picked up a little dinosaur. I thought it would be kind of neat. In fact, the song I mentioned I was going to do is an outgrowth of the hike we took in the area where I took the first dinosaur. But I would post photos of dinosaurs in funny situations. And I would, being very creative as I am, I would have a little caption for it. And one of my friends said, hey, why don't you let us make the captions for a change? I said, okay. So I would create the scene, take the photograph, and of course I always had a caption in mind, but I was just amazed at how creative and things would come totally out of left field that I didn't even expect. So psychologically, it's been a really interesting experiment, and I've been doing this for the last 4 years. Almost every day I'll have a photograph of the dinosaurs up. Uh-oh. We just lost Paul. You back, Paul?
Maybe
There he is.
There he is.
Bottom.
where'd he go?
Out for a second there. Afraid I missed.
No, you didn't miss anything. I was talking.
Freezing a little bit. All right. Going on to Tim. You ready?
Sure.
Tim, are you there? Tim,
Yes, I'm here.
you want to read your poems and tell us a little bit about your process?
Sure. Year 7 for me also. Seems to be a group of us. Because of the extended festival, I was able to do 4 groups this year.
4 groups.
It was quite an adventure. Now, the first group, at first I was going to ignore my group 1 and just work off old lists. And I started that way, but then I started receiving cards, so I dove in. And the first group of 31 got the album cover cards, each one individually made and collaged. After I joined a second group, I realized no way was I going to be able to do individual cards, so I created a base card. Actually took a card I made for this year's college graduates that I sent out to the graduates I knew, and used that as the base. And then again, for group 10, that was group 10, group 14, got either the eyes or lips of the Mona Lisa, and group 17 got the astronauts. So yeah, never would have happened without the extended fest and the time to play. It was truly quite gratifying. For me, a couple of poems. Into the charming. Gesturing, his hands took to the streets. They took to the sky where they could see the world whole and its scattered lights. With a deep breath, the view wavers, each exhale an occasion to open the door. True bearing. The atmospherics are strong, filled with grace and peril. You imagine in some future time for reprieve, but now is the time to vibrate and hum with the, now is the time to vibrate the hive with the hum and crackle and wrangling of words into place. One more. Beyond the window. A familiar image, a fragment of a landscape, registering the actualization of the heat and discomfort endured. While others look on, measurements are made with tapes and rulers intended to calibrate our leisure, our longing, our growth, our dance with gravity.
Back to the astronaut theme, sort of.
It was all about gravity, baby.
Far out. Tim, thanks so much. Thanks for also being part of that workshop.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, look at that.
So I cut out a ton of those astronauts. Everybody got at least 2, but I only cut out 2 of those skeletons because that's a pain in the ass, man. And my arthritis doesn't help anymore. But
beautiful, man. Nice work.
Yep. It was just a joy to be part of it. And I tell you, my postman just smiles, and I've run out to get the cards from him, and he hands them to me like a gift, and he's like, who are you that you get this? So thank you.
That's the second postcard story I've heard. Somebody else told a story. I think it was Ina on Facebook. Beautiful, Tim.
Yep.
Her name is listed there as Sally's iPad, but I know her as Sally Hedges Blanquez in Seattle, breathing the bad air that I didn't want to breathe.
Yes, you might hear my dog in a moment. He was just barking, I need to go out. And I think someone took care of that for a moment, but we'll find out if he needs to share his poem or not too. So the air quality is definitely getting worse, and I had been doing all sorts of walks with my dog and sort of like this meditative morning, and now it just seems like, you know, looking out the window and maybe going around 3 blocks. But the process for the writing, I think sometimes I lifted a line or a phrase from a card that I got. I have been collecting cards over the years, and some were like ones that I just totally loved the images and I didn't want to give up. And I thought, you know what, it's time to send them out into the world. I am getting so many incredible things back. And it seems like, I think the more we do that, giving things away, the more we get back in return. So the other thing about my process is that I used to definitely rewrite multiple times. And I must say the last 3 cards, I was happier with just saying, okay, you're gonna write in ink and you're gonna write on this index card and you're gonna figure out your size and that's it. And I felt like for some reason that freed up something, and I'm happier with the results. I don't know about what other people will say, but anyway, I have 3 short ones. This one is called A Morning Stilled. To the east, the diagonal of crows against slate gray clouds. And I was intrigued by opening and beginning a poem with the same. So the title on this one is The Letter. Inside the book, packed in a box, driven cross country, stored on a shelf in the basement, opened while downsizing after 20 years. The letter. And a bonus postcard poem. This one was actually an image I loved, bought it probably a year ago at the thrift store. It was the Berlin Wall, and the words on it, which I only just looked up to see the meaning, were Pausenloser Einsatz, which, if I'm saying it right, I looked it up. It seems to mean non-stop commitment, which I thought was kind of an interesting phrase to think about. What do we have?
Say the German again.
Pausenloser Einsatz. I think it means non-stop commitment. So if it means something else, please correct me. The title, How Long? If we had nothing but our bare hands, could we tear down what was constructed, make rubble of empty words? And again, thank you. This has been great. My third year. I think I still haven't figured out how I want to keep my images. I've either taken photos or taken color copies, and I loved having a small record of mine, but I most definitely will always keep the cards that I receive. So thank you.
Far out, Sally. Thanks for all your help with POPO. I'm grateful.
All right.
Stanley Del Gozo, are you in the house?
I am. Can you hear me? Hey, Paul.
Yep.
Can you hear me? Okay, because my microphone has been wandering whether it works or not. So if you can hear me, I'm here.
I can hear you just fine. And a report that Jessica reports that Pausenloser Einsatz equals nonstop commitment. So we have that validated by a woman who appears to be a native speaker despite her name of Martinez. A native speaker, yes.
And I spent 4 years in Berlin during the Cold War, so as a Russian interpreter. Wow. Anyway, I have been in POPO since Rich has been in POPO. I don't know. Been getting dinosaurs every year. This year, I really enjoyed the first card that I received was from Paul, and it was an old friend of ours, Curly Neal, that he wrote about, and I thought that was really cool. So rest in peace. And I think, did I send you a rest in peace for Curly also? Or
I think so, yes.
Because that Curly Neal played for the Harlem Globetrotters, and they never lose to the Washington Generals. They always play good enough just to get by and beat them by 2 points or something. But so my first card that I received this year was from Paul, and that was back in March sometime. And they've been really coming in slow. Most of the cards that I've been getting have been bonus cards. Nobody. I think I still have 10 from Group 1 that haven't sent to me yet. And it's okay. I'll get them by Christmas. But I would want to report that I live in a very small town. I moved down here from Seattle 4 years ago, and we only have one post office, and I go every day to the post office, 6 days a week, and drop off whatever postcard poems that I've written to send. And I always have them hand canceled and sent with love. And everybody, all of the people there, the 4 people there know. By the way, Tim, did you get your card? Yes, I got you. I just sent it last week. Anyway, now they go through a whole ritual. They put the card up to their head, and the one lady wears one of those big plastic masks, and so she puts it up to the plastic mask, and then she puts it around and gives it a little kiss with her fingers, under her mask. But just Saturday when I dropped it off, I only had one, and the guy who's retiring on Friday, Jerry, he said, "Well, you're slowing down. There's only one here, you know." Anyway, I have had fun. I've sent 70 cards. I've received 30, and it's been a really, really, really creative year for me. But I have this. Well, I've enjoyed Popo. I started in Popo when I used to go to Paul's. Paul and I were in the Mankind Project together, and he mentioned that he had a reading group. I think it was every Tuesday night, and it happened to be at the grade school that my wife went to. And so I thought that was really cool. And Paul and I spent a couple of years doing that. And then he didn't even tell me about Popo. And finally he did, and I said, "Why didn't you tell me about this before?" He says, "Didn't think about it, you know." But anyway, I've enjoyed Popo. It's a creative uplift for me. Yes, Jessica, that was great German that you read, you know.
Give us your poem, Stanley.
Yes, here we are. Quick, is the time started already and I've got 30 seconds left?
It started 3 minutes and 42 seconds ago, but give us 3 of your poems.
Okay, well, I just have one here that I printed off, and it's a pen tomb, and I just sort of played with it, and it's like repetition of phrases. So it's called Evening at Our House. When the table is cleared, who does the dishes? When the pans are all scraped, who shines the glasses? When the dishes are done, who brings out the reading? When the glasses are all shiny, who chooses the story? When the reading is finished, who pops the popcorn? When the story's completed, who brews the tea? Popcorn popper put away, who walks the dog? Tea enjoyed with a biscuit, quiet time, music and lights turned low. The dog did her duty, who turns down the quilt? Meditation, quiet time, lights low, off to bed, a grow together evening.
Stanley, that was beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Nice work, man. Give Risha my love.
What?
Give Risha my love.
I will, and yes, I'm glad to be here tonight.
I'm glad you're here, and I really appreciate your Popo energy, man.
We're in.
God bless America. It says Madeline Haber. Is that right, Madeline?
Yes, it is, Madeline. That's my name.
Madlynn.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So where are you? Remind me where you're at.
I'm in Florence, Massachusetts. This is my second year doing this. I loved it last year. I started early this year, and since I was done by the middle of July, I did a whole nother group after that. I can't believe I wrote 62 poems. But it was a lot of fun. Mostly I write what I see or what I feel, and then somehow I inevitably have a postcard that matches the poem. So I start with the poem and then I find the card.
Do you have a buttload of cards in a drawer somewhere?
I did last year. I collected them as I was going, and then for the whole year I knew I'd do it again. So I got postcards wherever I went.
Excellent.
So I have a good collection to choose from.
I know the feeling.
So this is a poem from the beginning when it was just starting to be spring here. Yellow like the droplets of the sun falling, bursting yellow, dandelions low to the ground, dotting the green yard, forsythia spreading, reaching out wide and up, daffodils, tulips springing out like an unexpected laugh, all yellow and bright as if nothing is wrong. Somebody mentioned before writing in the shower. So this is about that. Where did the poem go? The one I wrote in the shower yesterday morning. Down the drain with the suds, shaken in the air with the drops from my hair, Dripped off the towel I wrapped around my body as I walked barefoot to my room. Body cleansed, mind cleansed, perfect poem gone, faded into memory before it even got to live on the page.
I hate when that happens. Hey, I have to ask you, you know, all the mentions of flowers in it, and Popo time is generally the 4th or 5th or 6th of July through the end of August, and there are flowers, but so was that from your second group, that first one?
No, it was from my first group. You know, we get a lot of spring flowers here in Massachusetts, and the forsythia come out first and everything is yellow.
Got it. Got it. I wonder about how the moving up of the Popo season was going to change some of the imagery. So
Yeah, a lot of spring things this year.
yeah, beautiful, Madeline. Hey, thanks for being part of this.
I have one more.
Okay, good.
I tried not to write any political poems because felt like people got enough of that in the real world, but this came after a evening vigil. The names of the dead read out loud, one by one, each echoes to someone's loss, lost to us all. Tears I don't recognize fall down wet, warm, more names, more tears, it goes on.
Don't get me started on that. I found the politics coming into mind too. Thank you for that. Hopefully there will be some change regarding the way that some people are treated by, and who gets to decide what life matters, I think is an important question to ask. Thanks, Madeline.
Thank you.
Let me see here. Random order, Jane's iPhone, I have. Is that Jane Swanson? Which Jane is that? And are you ready to go? And can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Okay. The first one is the first year that I did this, I did a sweep of all postcards from my house. And I had one of infamous inmates. And I sent it to a man in Seattle. And the poem was Birdman of Alcatraz. Birdman of Alcatraz, notorious inmate. Birdman born in Seattle, murder in Alaska, incarceration, solitary confinement. He studied canaries. Caged in his small cell, he let them fly freely, like his mind behind bars. And another postcard that I found was one that I bought in Chicago at the art museum there when they had the exhibit of degenerate art where they tried to replicate the Nazi art exhibit where they brought in what they considered degenerate art. And this was a dancer by Ernest Kirchner. And this is the only postcard that I've done where I didn't want to mail it. I wanted to keep it. So it's called Degenerate Art, Nazi Purge of Modern Art. 600 works by Ernest Kirchner, confiscated from museums, sold, destroyed, or hidden to further a Nazi Germany dream of perfect white society where no one could be allowed to color outside the line. And then in the Facebook group where someone did a poem in a foreign language and the person couldn't read it, and that sparked me to want to write in Portuguese, which is a language that I'm trying to learn during the pandemic. So this is called Playtime. It's a postcard of dogs playing. And it goes, dogs play in green grass. Chácharos jogam no grama verde. That's the Portuguese. Then the poem that I did, that's the synopsis of this year's experience, is called This Year. If I can find it here. Oh, but the one about green grass made me think of the poem that's on the wall at my house in Washington by Gregory Corso. And I just wanted to throw this in there. A bluebird alights upon a yellow chair. Spring is here. And I can't find my, this year, I'll put it up on Facebook. I can't find it right now.
All right, Jane, I thank you for reminding me of the separation anxiety that I often have when I don't want to mail a poem and hold on to it for 2 or 3 days and then mail it. So you're better than I if you only had it once. I wonder what that says about the character or the. I'm not sure. I don't want to get into that now. We don't have time. Nice work. Nice work.
Thanks. Thank you for doing this. I love postcards and I love poetry.
Those are beautiful poems, and I'm from Chicago, so I love the Art Institute. And the Birdman was fascinating. I didn't know the backstory to that. Fascinating.
Yeah,
There was a movie about that. There was a movie, right?
I don't know. I bought, you know, they usually sell a big expensive book that has everything that was in that exhibit. Right. And I bought the book. It's pretty weird what was going on in Nazi Germany.
Yeah, well, we're living through it here now, so we have some sense, I think. Hopefully it won't come out like that. All right, Jane. Joe Cottonwood. Are you there to read some poems? Joe, what's the status on the fire?
I seem to be out of danger. It stopped about 2 miles from my house. We had to evacuate for over a week, and then we came back, and it's still out there smoldering. And sometimes, one day this week, it was so dark, we never had daytime. It was just night all day. But things are clearing up now. In fact, I can see sunshine out my window right now.
I'm glad you're okay.
Me too. It's inspiring a lot of poetry, which I guess will come out over the year. For the postcards, I did actually 2 sessions this year, one before August and one for the month of August. And I did it last year, so I guess I've done 3 in 2 years. And I recognize some of the faces here who've been in my group, like Jessica. So it's good to see you on the screen. I pretty much work from photographs that I have in my files. Last year I did photographs from family trips and wrote little fictional vignettes. And this year I have a huge file of, I'm obsessed with plant photography, wildflowers particularly. So a lot of my cards this year were based on images on the wildflowers. And it doesn't mean I wrote flower poems at all. In fact, I'll read the one right now. And the other thing I want to say is I love how postcard poems expand in my mind. They start on a postcard, but many of them just keep growing. And after I've sent the postcard, the poem's not done yet. And they've turned into longer pieces. And several of them I've had published already, such as the one I'm going to read now. And this was on a postcard that was a picture of I don't have it with me here, but it was a picture of a wildflower called naked buckwheat. And the poem didn't have anything to do with buckwheat, but the naked and the buck got me going. And here's what the poem turned out to be. Our guests get naked and frolic is the title. Our guests get naked and frolic. They drive tiny trucks into steaming water. They float wooden boats. They dive for penny treasure. We, the hosts, in shirts and shorts, sit on the edge, dangling our feet, spreading our toes. From 50 years gone, we remember pioneering bare ass with friends in old wooden vats, jury-rigged to a heater, leaky, needing constant repair. Now, plastic and fiberglass, a hot tub is reliable, a household appliance. These grandchildren at age 2, 3, 5, bump bodies, take delight, innocent of vice. Back half a century, TV said we should dry off, wear bras and Brooks Brothers, fight wars, kill commies, vote Republican. They said we were acting like children. Okay, sorry, that one turned out to be political.
And degenerate art with all the nudity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was supposed to have the word buck naked in it, but somewhere that turned into bare ass. So, I mean, oh well. I'll do one other. It was a picture of a toad that I took, and it inspired a poem called "Little Frogs Are Hopping." Little frogs are hopping from the pond to the weeds, hopping in the headlight beams, across wet asphalt through strings of drizzle, hopping where my car can only squash them. So I stop. You take my hand. Thank you, you say. You like frogs. There is another route, an extra mile. I back up, turn around. More cars will come, I say. Again, you take my hand. That's on them, you say. We do what we can do. And maybe, just maybe, we spared a prince.
Nice ending there. Far out, man.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for holding this. I love the whole postcard thing. It's inspired hundreds of poems from me already.
I'm glad your house didn't burn down.
Me too.
All right, Joe. Kristen Ryberg from North Carolina. Kristen, are you ready to give us some of your best?
Well, you know, I'm a little bit of I waited about 30 minutes before and I just frantically printed out things, but I do have some.
That's the same way I did it.
I'm a little bit I work best under pressure, I tell myself, but anyhow, you know, I didn't know, I actually have the cards that I received and then I replied. What I did on a lot of the cards, which was fun, is they're not only ekphrastic, but they're epistle replies. So I use the last line, am I talking loud, from a poem that I received, and then that helped me so much you know, get going with the writing, to use the last line from the poems that I received. for the most part. And, but I don't want to break, I don't know what you would call it, and read other people's poems.
You should do it.
So, so right now I'm going to, yeah, maybe I will, but right now I'm going to start with, this poem is sent to Caroline, and she's in United Kingdom. She hasn't gotten this poem yet. It's a picture of my dryer. And it's, Dear Caroline, I'm sorry you ended up with a photo of my dryer. It's traveled 3,947 miles, if it makes it. A record of its last day in my possession, unplugged, taken to the porch, thoroughly cavity searched. No socks were found. The Amana cannot be trusted. White facade doesn't fool me, taken away on a dolly for analysis.
Please show the image again. It looks like abstract art.
It's my dryer.
That's fantastic. I love that. That's the best fire poem I've ever heard.
This is a funny poem. This is a funny, not funny. Wait a minute.
Ironic?
No, wait a minute. I'm getting all excited and I don't know what to do here. So let's see. This goes with, oh, right. Okay. Beats with hope, not dread. This was from Melody Bolt. A very romantic image. Is it, so I'm allowed to read somebody else's poem?
I think it's okay.
Is it even possible to still believe in true love in the face of racist mockery and debaucheries of old white men? I know it's political, but you know. Weeping myself to sleep in my cold, lonely bed, my heart still beats with hope, not dread. I thought it was nice. And I can't find my reply because now I got so flummoxed here that I've messed up my piles. So anyhow, I'm going to read something else. Here's a little collage that I did of an owl, and it says, in his mind, shows the owl. I tell you what I did this year and part of last year was, I have vintage children's books, and I know this isn't a new thing, but this Bambi's Children, I have found the best like block printed images and things that, and so I've done some found poetry with that. And this one is a found poem. That's what it looks like. There's nothing to forgive. Old oak roots burst bitter shoots from tough bark, green swollen, sweet with sap. Marsha Moore. Tell me when to stop. Okay.
One more.
Dear Daniel, Daniel Smith. This is a lot. I used a lot of photos that I had taken. Can't really tell from this copy much about that, but Dear Daniel, truth of saving. Where's his card? I don't know. Truth of saving. I am saved by the abandoned nest under the deck. On my walk, a stunned wren in the road, some drops of blood, but I'm watching. Now she rests hammocked in my skirt while a slim snake suns in the tire track. I have to say it, I threw a snake in the grass. P.S. I placed the wren in the nest, gave her a few drops of water, and she revived and flew away.
I love that you crack yourself up.
Well, who else am I going to work with? Yeah. This is also from Bambi's Children. It's a little found. And I got very possessive of these because some of these take an hour to do. And I didn't want to send the originals, and I finally did. And I have to say, it's still a little bit hard to think that maybe some of these they're in some black hole somewhere. I don't know if, you know, if all these poems are making it, but.
In the dryer, probably.
Like, yeah, like you said, it's a psychological practice, or somebody said that, of giving up. So this one says, the matter's grown too serious. One jump and I vanish. Beware the cruel. Only yesterday there was a dandelion to which I am addicted. In the next meadow, a fly droned by on wings of mist, made more sound than my breath, as though it were a little thing. And then it's a sampler cinquain. I'm going to stop after this. On the back, one, sometimes everyone feels the same thing breaking, oh, got a little southern there, feels the same thing breaking, a sudden portal of possible, this life. Two, Pac-Man mentality devours everything. Who crowned us kings anyway? We did. That's it.
Nice. Nice cinquain. Nice use of that form.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I could
Thanks,
talk
Kristen.
about
Thanks for
this,
your help.
and it's just, you know, it's kept me going between, throughout bouts of depression, let's just say.
Hang in there.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Kristen. Mary Beth Friesen from New Jersey. What town in New Jersey?
I'm in upstate New York.
New York.
Brainerd.
Brainerd, New York. That's what it is, Brainerd.
I like to think of it as East Bejesus. It's nowhere.
And you're rocking the Oxford comma t-shirt.
I am. Flying the colors. You just saw that?
I did, because when I mentioned your name and you unmuted yourself and started talking, it went full screen.
Oh, gotcha.
And you got the nice background, and God, I love your work so much.
Oh, thank you.
How many years have you been doing this?
I looked, it's number 7.
7.
I wonder why we all started at the same time.
There was free beer that year, I think.
Oh yeah, that'll do it. This year I started in April because that's National Poetry Writing Month, and I commit to a poem a day. So I used that as my starting point, and I kept going. And I had all kinds of problems with writing too long. Like they just would not fit on a poem, on a card. And I normally write sonnets, and they were 2 sonnets long. Some of them were longer. It was a mess. So I had to kind of rethink. And then as the summer went on and August finally came, it got to be more like my normal writing. And they got shorter and a little less focused on world events, shall we say.
Well, what about the images?
The images, I often use commercial cards. I know in the past I've used a lot of my own photographs, but this year I used commercial cards. I did some that were watercolor borders because I needed to use the fronts and the backs. That was my solution to writing too much. So forgive me for too many words.
I stole that technique later in the season.
Oh, there you go.
Did.
I'm glad it worked.
I made it like a haibun kind of, with a lot of text on the front and then a little bit on the back.
Oh yeah. And some of them I had to do the reverse. I tried to, because a sonnet length about will fit well for me on the back. So whatever else there was had to go on the front. And you actually got my longest poem, which I sent out to another person too. And that's called Envision a Revision. And that came about from going to one too many WebEx meetings about stress and dealing with stress and being grateful and a whole lot of crap. It's like, and I just heard this phrase of something about envisioning. And I said, oh, envision a revision. That's 7 syllables. I can work with that.
All right.
So that's what I'm going to read today. Envision a revision is 7. Take the shred of hope, a roof light as clouds, solemn mystery, azure, nighttime slips, silent, stars arrive. Is this repeated? Is this so unique? Mark the calendar, note in your journal, make some sense of it. This thing within us, which we cannot stop. Say where you will go today and today. The world is not a constant, not clouds always above us, nor slant of light at near dusk. I'm meaning everything now. Living in isolation isn't what we're designed for. Did it make you feel smaller? That's why I'm reminding you, the world is full of patterns. You must be ready to break the things that have always been, making room for discomfort, a seed in hard earth cracking, opening itself to rain. Now be awakened. Now be full of dreams. Night sky wandering its familiar paths, telling of heroes, shining with lovers, suddenly flowers. Whence understanding? Calculate justice, balance history on your outstretched hand, stretching yourself wide. Take a step forward, stand up and believe.
Amen.
So that's good for me. It's actually haiku form in 3 sonnets.
Is that right? Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of POPO all these 7 years.
Oh, thanks. And thanks for a long year this year. It worked out after all.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It was different.
It was different, but we're still chugging along.
I don't want to ever do it long again. That's another story. For a couple of people, it looks have dropped out. So I'm going to, I see there's Diane is there. And if Diane wants to unmute and read 3 poems, that would be great. And I think overthedam@gmail.com has joined us, but I don't know who that person is. And if they'd like to read, I think that might be the last 2 that are still here. Diane, would you care to unmute and give us some of your best? Or if not, we'll move on.
I'm not really prepared, but thank you very much. I had to just jump in at the last minute. I was on a different call, and I really appreciated everything from this year. I happen to like the long form, but this is my first year with it. So.
What's your last name, Diane? Hello? All right. Over the dam at Gmail. Hearing none. All right. I have poems here, and I'd just like to read 3. And I had a feeling this year. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I had a feeling this year of, there was a transition where I started, and you talk about the content matching the image, or the image matching the content. And I decided I'm creating the content and then the image after. And finally, I think my cards and poems have a little bit more togetherness, or continuity, I guess would be the word. So I'm just going to read 3 more elegies. This one was about the death of Lee Konitz, who was the last surviving member of the Birth of the Cool, which was Miles Davis, essentially his first project as a leader back in 1949, 1950. Lee Konitz went to Jody Dills of Shoreline, epigraph Wanda Coleman. He was last seen at the corner of Birdland and Nevermore. Lee Konitz died today, joining Miles and Lenny Tristano in Birdland's Nevermore Green Room, trading eighths. And this is how pandemic hits me, I guess. Grief's safety valve leaking out souls like an alto solo, refuses to be bird, but yet still bop. And the birth of the cool loses its last. Miles didn't care he was white. An elegy for one of my great poetry heroes, Michael McClure, who died on May 4th in Oakland, California. And this went to Martha Waiters of Fircrest, Washington, called Rebellion Reason, epigraphed by Michael McClure. If his eyes were not already closed, the pleasure would shut them. He has allowed his consciousness to become a blank field. And so goes the rebel lion, rebellion, on surrender to the great life force. And so goes his one last act of mammal patriotism, splash of Johnny Walker black on his lips. This is reason, but so is grar. That last word is an allusion to his beast poetry, Ghost Tantras, which is an amazing work, well worth checking into. And finally, I wonder if I can share the screen on this. I'd like to share the screen and see if this will come out. I hope it does. Because I love, this is my favorite. I think this was one of my favorites anyway. I think I held on to it for 3 days. Another McClure poem, Blue Black Swallows. He had something about blue-black, the color. Blue-black may have been Michael McClure, beat poet, Black Mountain poet's favorite color. Throat chakra, communication, and the absence of reflected light. His blue-black may have come from Sudan's second civil war, while tonight swallows are a blue-black blur of evening poetry. And I just got the image online and cut out some organic. I now got an organic stamp, so I can just stamp organic on it based on poetry, as Robert Duncan and Denise Levertov figured it out. So I think that's it. Not seeing anything in the, Diane says wonky internet. She apologizes if there was some problem. There's a couple of different wonkinesses, but otherwise, oh my God, we're doing it in less than 90 minutes. How about that? Thank you all for being part of this project, which means so much to me and which gives me so much. I did bring my bag of poems that I received, and I'm going to be making a video. I can't do it in a picture anymore, but since I was in 3 groups, I got the biggest shitload of cards ever, and it's just so amazing, and they're still coming in. And there's Tim holding up his bag. I've got it in a tortilla bag, so I needed something, and they'll be fresh because this is a Ziploc. So anyway, I have them in a certain order, and I try to keep them that way. But then when I put them on the floor to take their picture, that group picture at the end or the video, they get into a different order. And here's Siggy. There's yours back at you right there. Anyway, I don't want to start that because I'll be here all day. But thank you all for being part of this, and we've still got a few more spots in the workshop if you want to follow this spontaneous composition thing a little further. So thanks so much. Many blessings to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
Paul, for
everybody.
making this happen.
I love being part of this community. Thank you all.
Thank you all for being part of the POPO community.
Right.
Yes, it's really an uplifting time.